Well, now we have Christopher. Christopher is our next guest on this time. Hello. You know, was rainy on where Christopher was, and he had a little troubles. But now, is it your computer is okay, Christopher?
Yeah, it's on and off. So I'll try. How are
Okay.
you?
Hi, Christine. Will help us with your introduction for
Yeah,
our audience. Thank you,
Hi,
Christine.
yeah,
thank
I'm good.
you, Carolina.
So can you project my Word document? The PowerPoint cannot be projected because of the problem that I have here. If you can project the Word document so that I can use that to speak to
Yeah,
you.
yeah. A ver, let's try a moment. Let's try.
Yeah,
And while you're doing that, I would like to give an introduction. Um, After that very intriguing presentation by Ruth, I'd like to introduce Christopher Dapaah, who is a developmental consultant and social policy advocate. He is a distinguished fellow and Central and West Africa Regional President of the International Council of Social Welfare, the ICSW. He is the national president of the ESOs in local governance and the vice president of the Ghana NGOs on the right of the child. He has been awarded as Dr. Nina Meyerhoff Leadership Award in Virginia, USA in 2023. Also, the country director of Resource Link Foundation in Ghana and local governance expert who has made a series of presentations globally. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Christopher to present to the team this morning. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity, Carol. Thank you for sustaining the relationship as friends and as public uh, educators.
Thank
I
you,
was,
Christopher, because you always helping us and you always stay
yeah,
kindly with us. Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you very much. The task that we are all looking at, that exploring the frontiers of social work, innovation, and transformation from diverse approaches with emphasis on people-centered clinical social work. Yeah, let me first of all give you some background as we experience it in Africa and be very precise. In Ghana, social work, even though as we all know, is a trained profession, but when you look at the way and manner people live in Ghana, it is a communal type of work that everybody is doing for each other. And I can say that it's communal solidarity. What happens to one another is concerns everybody. So if somebody is having a challenge, maybe the person is disabled or is not well, is ill, the responsibility lies on everybody before even the designed professional focus as social workers issue came up. So it has added up to the work of social protection as everybody, every individual is helping one another to ensure that social protection takes its space. So today, looking at this broad theme, I just want us to focus on the using people-centered approach for exploring the frontiers of social work to address social protection challenges. What is it out there that the clinical social protection is all about? And as I indicated earlier, it's holistic work on its own. So let me quickly go through the summary presentations that I'm going to look at. First of all, I will speak shortly on the introduction and then give you some highlights as to what we are looking at. Carolina, can you go down?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
You go down. Go down. No problem. Okay, I'm here. Yeah. Go up. Yes. As I indicated earlier, uh, social protection has taken its roots from the work that we do as social workers. And it is about people. So if what we do is about people, it is about people-centered approach that we have to adopt to ensure that if somebody is indisposed, we use all the tactics that will be more appropriate. So with my introduction, I say that it's a person-centered approach in clinical social work. It's a humanic and client-centered, that the person who is not well, the focus is on that person. It's a method that emphasizes on understanding, because if somebody is not well, you should appreciate, know the pains that the person goes through. If somebody is lacking anything, you should appreciate and value whoever the person is. And that person needs some unique attention, individual unique experiences, feelings, and perspectives. It is widely used in various fields, including therapy of assault, coaching, and mental health practice. In social work, this approach views people as active participants in their own care. Because if you involve the person in his day-to-day activity, it becomes its own healer. And then we treat each other as experts on their own lives by building trust, establishing genuine connections, and considering individual perspective. Clinical social workers can create transformative experience for their clients, because whatever the person is going through, it is the clinical social worker that support the person to undergo type of healing. Then we look at how can the clinical social workers apply this people-centered approach that we are talking about. I will say that the person-centered clinical approach is about honoring clients' autonomy, trying to help them to appreciate how autonomous they can be, promote self-determination, supporting them to be able to leverage on their own, and fostering on a genuine connections. Clinical social workers can apply the person-centered approach in several ways, especially when we are talking about empathy and active listening. Social workers should actively listen to clients, because if somebody is indisposed and you seem not to care about whatever he is doing, then you are not supporting that person to be healed. So the way you listen to the person, the attention, and the empathy that you have for that person is a way of letting the person be healed. And it's also showing empathy and understanding is critical, as mentioned earlier, that it validates the feelings and experiences that social workers create as a space for clients to express themselves. In other balance, you see that collaboration and networking are also critical people-centered approach in several ways, involving clients in decision-making, seeing them as important, asking them about what they need to do, what they expect other people to do, and then discussing goals and preferences, and then giving them potential solutions, togetherness. Clients should feel like active participants, and if you value them on that regard, it's a way or a positive way that will let them heal using all involvement strategy. Then we also see that strengths-based perspectives that will let the client focus on his strengths, what they are able to deliver. You have to appreciate that they are able to do something. It's not a matter of you only helping them in terms of their abilities, result of how resourceful they will be. The social worker can help them recognize their own resilience and capacity for growth. This positive approach empowers the clients very well. Looking at the holistic assessment of the clients, you realize that social worker should consider all aspects of client's life: physical, emotional, social, and environmental, and any other thing that surrounds the client, so that you can understand the context in which the client is having the pains or the trauma that he's going through, and try to establish a very good relationships and rapport in addressing the challenges the person is going through. Can we go down? Yes. As I indicated earlier, we need to also recognize that there should be a special way that we have to nudge the client to tailor a particular intervention to see that person as unique. He need to have that uniqueness and the needs that the person will be looking at. It means that we should not be generalizing things that once somebody has done it, then definitely this particular client can do it. That is, we should avoid one size fit all solutions. That this one is doing that, so this one will also fit it, because we have individual differences, and we have to make sure that we collaborate with clients to develop their personalized plans. So whatever the client is able to do as social worker, you should support in that regard. You also realize that there are cultural competencies. Understand the cultural differences of the client, so that if the person is from Peru, you should understand how the Peruvians are behaving, as well as you compare that to, as a Ghanaian, the way they behave, so that you will not take it that after all Ghanaians do this, and for that matter, the Peruvians should do same. We have cultural differences, and that suits for individual differences as well. Trauma and informed care recognizing the fact that the social worker can make a very serious impact on traumatizing of the client, create safe environment and avoid traumatization, and then understand how trauma affect behavior and coping with mechanisms. Then we go ahead to look at what are some of the common misconceptions about these uh, person or human-led approach. There are common misconceptions about the person-centered approach in social work. One, you can also see that the positivity. Some people mistakenly believe that every being or every human being centered means that every human-centered being is being positive or overly accommodating. However, it's about collaboration and empowerment that will positively make the person feel good and see the impact of the clinical social worker. Yeah, career. Yes. We have to look at another misconception that has got to do with ignoring boundaries. If the person-centered care means that ignoring professional boundaries, you can be a teacher, and if you are taking care of somebody who is indisposed, it's not the point of you exhibiting your teachership at the point, but you have to accommodate the person and ignore wherever you are coming from, and then he will see you as part of you to ensure that boundaries work very well for sustaining healthy therapeutic relationship. You have to sustain that so that you don't ignore the person for the fact that you are different from that person. I also mentioned one fit all approach should also not be the situation because we have individual differences. Then it is time consuming when we look at these common misconceptions. Some believe that people-centered caretakers take too much time, but while it does require active listening and collaboration, the long-term benefit outweigh any initial time investment. Because you may see it as a short term, but when the person is able to do whatever you expect the person to do, the impact outweigh the time consuming that one may be looking at. And that is the long-term benefit that we are looking at. Exclusively client-driven. It should be client-driven. The emotions, the attitude, and any other thing that you have to exhibit, you have to play around the role that you have to play as a social worker, still bring their expertise on board, can together come out with a balance between the client autonomy and professional guidance. So that if we are able to knit the two, then the two will work very well and for us to meet the aspiration for which we are clinical social workers. Then we also look at how can clinical social workers address these misconceptions. We need to look at how we can address them. And it is realized that consistent practice and open dialogue can gradually shift perceptions and promote a more accurate understanding of person-centered care. Social workers uh, can address these misconceptions about the person-centered approach, and that is the good way out, including to educate the people, trying to educate clients, colleagues, and the community about what person-centered care truly entails. Provide workshops, seminars, or informal material to dispel myths about their situation. Then demonstrate person-centered practices in your interactions through modeling. Show active listening, empathy, and collaboration. When others see it in this action, it will be better for them to understand their own value. Case studies can also be used to share success stories. Stories and case will highlight the positive aspect of person-centered care, and that will come up with a real life situations as some people have ever gone through. Ethical discussions. for which you need to respect the person. You have to be very courteous in the way that you will be able to engage in the ethical discussion with a colleague who is indisposed. Clarify that such a person needs special care and he is as human as any other person. Research has shown us that some people have done some work before, and we can use the research to stay informed about the evidence in supporting person-centered approaches, for which we can use data to do some analysis and then come out with effective ways in handling people. Now we can also look at the impact of the people in question, the people, the clients, the impact of the person-centered care on client outcome is very significant, and we need to look at that. It is observed that treating clients as unique individuals with their own stories and preferences can transform their experience in caretaking, and some outcome may include the following, and that it will be for a very good, successful clinical worker, social worker. These are some of the benefits that if you are able to do your work well, you arrive at them. It improves satisfaction. Clients will feel more satisfied when they are actively participating in decision making, because if you already involve them, you value them. And person-centered care functions as a sense of control and respect, leading to the higher satisfaction levels. The more you respect them, the more they see themselves as part of you, and the more they also value themselves as human beings. When clients are involved in planning and setting goals by taking decisions with other people, it enhances their adherence. They see themselves committed and increase their health outcome, because psychologically, if one is looked down upon, it can create some kind of psychological illnesses. Then, looking at the mental challenges that some people go through, by bringing people closer to yourselves, recognizing their potentials, it reduces level of stigmatization. If the stigma is higher as a person, you are also promoting illnesses. But if you are able to bring them closer to reduce stigma, you don't disassociate yourself from them. It helps in reducing the health magnitude. Then empowerment. Reduce hospitalization by addressing individuals' needs and preferences. Person-centered care can prevent crisis and reduce hospital admission. Early interventions and personal support play a crucial role in this regard. Then looking at how clients can be empowered to become very active and proactive partners in their care. This empowerment leads to better self-management, because the more you empower them, letting them know that they can do something good, it is also helping them to be stronger in one way or the other, in coping with the skills and overall resilience in their capacity or in their quest to do things on their own. Healthier behavior. When clients are respected and understood, they are more likely to adopt healthier behavior. For example, trying to motivate them to exercise, trying to encourage them to take a particular diet change, and then follow their medical advice. As a clinical social worker, you make sure that you encourage them to take their routine medication, monitor them, and even if there are some bitter pills, it is you who have to encourage them to take all these pills, because all these things will come out with a long-term benefit that we are all striving out. Fundamentally, it can sustain good health and well-being of the client. Then we can also look at what are some of the practical strategies for implementing person-centered care. The person-centered care uh, empowers individually and fosters meaningful connection. And therefore, implementing person-centered care involves several strategies. Strategies number one, we can look at expand community access, understand community needs, and ensure access to care for diverse population. And that one too, you can also link into the cultural aspects, the environmental aspects, and socioeconomic issues in that community. So all these is to be taken into consideration when you are to expand the community assessment. Then promote shared decision making, which I've already mentioned. You know, if you allow them also the space to take their own decision, it should not be the case that as a clinical social worker, you dictate to the clients as what to do. They know themselves better than you. So you are just a facilitator to take them around, and you have to give them that necessary respect to take their preferences and their values into play. Provide information in a way that easy to understand. Your the communication strand is also important. Sometimes some people, the way they communicate with clients will let them also feel good and appreciate the work that they are doing. But if you don't communicate in the culturally sensitive way, it will end up distorting the relationship between you and as a social worker and the clients. Use personal language is key here. Language, the type of language that you use, the language that the person can speak, the language that the person understands. Then, and for that matter, avoid jargons on the medical terms. Use simple terms that will make the person homely and well understood. Include person-centered care in hiring. Recruit caregivers who will be able to embrace person-centered principles, because there are some principles that people may not like to go by them, but it's a way of letting people appreciate the fact that these are the things that everybody needs to learn and then go with it to ensure that the clients can be supported in one way or the other. Then regularly train staff on person-centered practices. Like I mentioned earlier, communication is key and empathy is another. And then the seventh point that I will deliver on is how can social workers collaborate with clients' families? Sometimes there will be some differences that the family of the clients may not agree with some principles. It is the work of the social worker to find a very good strategy to be able to collaborate with the families and to that will enhance their outcome and strengthen the support system. Because if you don't collaborate with them, there are a lot of things that you cannot do it alone. You need to collaborate with clients' families, and it is very crucial and for holistic care. We also have some practical strategies that clinical social workers that you can also engage social family meetings. You need to engage them active listening. If the client is talking to you, you have to pay very active. Then educate them. Then conflict resolution, mediate conflict within families. If there is any misunderstanding, help them find common grounds, and effective communication strategy should be used in this regard as well. Then the support networks, because there might be uh, some like-minded people who are also doing the same, giving the support system. You need to connect with connect the family with them to have that relationship. Either it could be a group, it could be the community resources that people are using. Then that collaboration should be there to ensure that everybody can have a fair share and benefit from it. Family have some dynamics and cultural norms. You also need to respect the boundaries, and you should not entrench on them. And that uniqueness in the context of what you are doing will take its role. Then we also look at how can clinical social workers address family dynamics in challenging situations. By building trust, if you allow them to build trust, they trust you, and whatever it is that you are doing for them, they will value it. Promoting collaboration, respecting diversity. We have different way of doing things. So if one does something, you need to appreciate that person for having done that thing, because there are cultural dynamics, and everybody has his own way of doing some of these things. Carol, can we go down? Yeah. So we're talking about strengthening family programs. You know, by building the trust and the promoting collaboration, you are trying to strengthen family programs because you will be part of them. And once you are part of them, you utilize the resources and strengthen the strengths of the families, which will offer some training materials like handouts, what they need to do, what they need not to do, what at the right time you design something with them that will enhance family relationship between you and the entirety. And then the tools that can facilitate meaningful discussions, you need to provide them to promote positive behavioral change for the family and you as a social worker. Then education and communication. Educate family about the in-person approach, how to approach even when you are not there, in your absence, how to encourage open communication, active listening, and mutual respect that you need to make out to the client. Discuss family roles, what individually each can do to support the client in one way or the other, responsibilities and the shared goals. What are we aiming at? What do we want to arrive? Then everybody should be on the same table to make sure that the individual contribution will contribute to the goal set for us. Empathy and compassion are key issues that social workers should demonstrate. Say that they understand each family member's perspective and validate their feelings. Acknowledge the complexity of family dynamics. Then conflict resolution. In every society, there is possible that there will be some differences. And as a trained clinical social worker, you should have the dynamic instance to be able to settle conflicts and make sure that there's peace and everybody will be in a very safe environment. The individual plans I've mentioned earlier, and just to emphasize that it's recognized that each family is unique and develop individual plans that can consider family strengths, cultural norms, and specific challenges need to be addressed accordingly. And they involve all the family members in decision making. So that even if at the meeting somebody seems to be silent, you have to find a way of letting the person contribute so that whatever decision that is made will be a decision for everybody, and holistically, the person will belong to the society, or the society belongs to the person psychologically. When family members disagree on care decisions, that is, how can the social workers handle situations where family members disagree, which is, a practical example. It does happen. That as a social worker, you can employ several strategies to navigate these challenging situations using collaboration and empathy as finding common grounds in family disagreement about care decisions, and following some of the issues that we need to get to know the family, building relation with both the clients and their family, get to know how they behave. Families are not the same. We have individual families. So immediately you get to that family, you should be able to appreciate and live with them. Trust is essential. Don't give lies. Don't let them trust you with all what you do. If you talk about time, if you talk about when to do something, if you talk about not to do something, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Spend time by understanding their perspective and concerns. You know, if you are in the family, you need to spend a lot of time to be able to appreciate some of these things. And that will give the professional incumbent, as everybody will appreciate the fact that you are a professional clinical social worker. Minimize confusion. Um, as a clinical social worker, the more you bring confusion to the family, the more you are beating the pains of the client, the more you are separating the family members from the client, and the more you are also embedding yourself with the task. So, to achieve professional consensus on options and risks, that could help to provide consistent information to family members. So, we need to exhibit professional competency and then align them with the patient's wishes to ensure that the patient will feel good when you are there, but he will not feel good when you are not there. Then identify values, facilitate a discussion about goals and values. Often, patients and family members' values are closely aligned. Understanding each other's person's perspective can lead to consensus. So, to look at the person-centered as issue, it's about human relationship. The baseline is about human relationship, and with the human relationship, it carries everything. Your trust that the people should have, how you also respect them, and how you are able to settle on confusion, how to know other differences, what the people like, what they don't like. And again, if conflict persists, the mediation, you should also be very tactful as not to tread on people's toes, to bring a lot of disagreement in the family. When there's a lot of disagreement, it will not augur well for the patients to recover or any other thing. So there should be a win-win approach as what you need to do. Can we go down? Yeah. Okay. So I've mentioned this already. So just that I give some expatiated meaning here. So empathy and active listening are surest way approaches to support collaboration, strength-based perspective, holistic assessment, individual plans, and trauma-informed. Can we go? Carol, let's go down. Yeah, go. Yes. How to implement this to address the challenges that uh, people, clinical social workers go through. The challenges are enormous, but we've mentioned some, but we can use this strategy to resolve that. When it comes to time constraints, social workers often face time limitation. Providing personal care requires more time for active listening. And then if you don't have enough time, you have to create it because uh, you need to have the patient to listen. And then collaboration is key, as mentioned, and the individualized planning. Organizational culture. Some agencies or institutions may prioritize efficiency over person centered approaches. Shifting organizational culture towards client empowerment can be an uphill battle. Resistance to change. Professional outcomes to traditional models may resist adopting person centered practices. Overcoming this persistence requires education and patience. Then resource allocation. Adequate resource, staff, training, tools are essential for effective person-centered care. Limited resources can hinder implementation. Neglect complexity. Clients' diverse needs, backgrounds, and challenges make it challenging to create tailored intervention. Clinical social workers must balance individualization with practicality. See, what is real should be treated as real. It should not be fabricated. And if it's fabricated, it will not fit well in the situation. Then documentation pressure. Because there will be a lot of data collection, information, administrative tasks often takes time away from direct client interaction. And then there should be a space to balance the situation, and that will be very critical. If you don't balance the situation to ensure that you can manage the time within the pressure of work, then it will be a nightmare. Ethical dilemma. Balancing client's autonomy with safety and ethical guidelines can be complex. For example, when the client choices may harm themselves or otherwise. So then you need to be very ethical. And when there is anything about what is maybe a mental patient can take a decision that will go against him or her, there should be a way of handling it in the ethical way. So, for conclusion and recommendation, we are saying that, in conclusion, person-centered clinical approach in social work offers several benefits for both clients and social workers. The clinical social workers are recognized with uniqueness of each client and seeks to empower them while considering their social environment. It aligns with other core values of social work and contributes to more effective and meaningful support. Despite the challenges, the benefit of person-centered clinical social worker are care improve outcomes, client satisfaction, empowerment, and make it worth pursuing in social protection context. And therefore, recommended that one, clinical social workers should demonstrate empathy and compassion, understand each family member perspective and validate their feelings, acknowledge the complexity of family dynamics. On conflict resolution, mediate conflict within families, teach effective communication skills, conflict resolution techniques, and problem solving strategies. Encourage compromise, and understanding. Individualized plans recognize that each family is unique. Develop individual plans that consider family strengths, cultural norms, and specific challenges that need to be addressed. Involve all family members in decision making. When family members disagree on core decisions, clinical social worker can employ several strategies to navigate these challenging situations. Get to know family. Building relationship with both patient and their family is critical. Trust is essential, especially if you are a new member of a care team. Spend time understanding their perspective and concerns. Minimize confusion. Ensure that all clients involved in the patient's and family members' values are closely aligned. Understanding each other's perspective can lead to consensus. And then try to encourage openness, and then that will already build trust. Build patient that Remind patient that their family members might be more receptive to their desired care options than they think. Encourage patients to share their hopes and preferences, and preserve confidentiality. Work with patients to determine which medical information to share with their family, and respect confidentiality while ensuring relevant details are communicated. And the last, but not the least, is to consider mediation, which I mentioned earlier severally, is very important. If conflict persists, consider involving neutral mediator. It might not necessarily mean that you can do everything as a mediator or as a clinical. There should be some neutrality if the case is beyond you, maybe such as hospital social worker or ethical committee member, of which you might not have the nerve to do that. You need to involve some of these things. Document all communication and decisions for clarity and for accountability. If you document, you can make reference to it, and the reference will also guide you as what each and every individual has said to do and what each and every individual has not done. So all these things will serve as checklists. Remember, collaboration and empathy are key to finding common grounds in family disagreements about care decisions. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you here for further discussion. If one has any question, he can ask. If one has something to add, he can add it to our discussion. Thank you for listening to me. Over.
Thank thank you, Christopher. Thank you very much. You did a lot of work. Well, I appreciate that. Let's see. Someone likes to do a question in YouTube. People say hi from different countries, Mexico, Chile, in YouTube. Say wonderful Congress. Oh, and say hi. John, you are the expert in clinical social work. Maybe you have a question? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very dynamic research, and I'm wondering how long you've been involved in this area and what some of the highlights have been for your practice.
Yes, I've been involved in this area since 2010. So it's about 14 years back.
Wow, good experience.
Yeah, 14 years back. And we have been able to work with the local people who may not be handled by professional social workers, but family members. We also work with social workers who are also professional. So we see the line in between the two, what these people are doing and where their intersection is, the professional and the non-professional family members.
May I ask a follow-up question, please? In your country, what is the training for professional or regulatory clinical social work? Is there any specific regulations or guidelines, or how did you receive the expertise?
Yes, even right from the word go, is in various institutions. We have counselors who are social workers, and then they take the people through some of the problems that they are going through till they mature. And at the universities and the polytechnics, we have various departments that are designed purposely for social education, social workers training. So such people are given the necessary principles that they need to follow. And when it comes to specific areas like clinical, they also have their specification. There are other areas that are not clinical. Then they also have their specification. But the commonest aspect is that they have the principles that everybody is following. Hello?
Yeah, it's okay. The answer, you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that insight. It's so interesting to hear how different countries do the
Yes.
training and the regulation of these professionals. Yeah, thank you for that contribution.
Thank you, too.
Yeah, Christopher, it's interesting that you guys are with this development, no? Like with the clinical social workers. I didn't know. I thought that in John teach, no, clinical social work, but I didn't know that in your country was no with this advance too. Was very good. No, yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I think that we are just finish this part and we have our next session after 2 p.m. And would like if you would like to continue in the Congress, you will start with the same link. You could enter with the same link. Maybe
Okay.
Ruth, you would like to add any comment to the Christopher's experience? Or maybe Amelie? I think for me, Christopher, the truth is that it's everything new for your experience, for the way that you teach, no, with this knowledge, no, this practice. Oh, Ruth is here.
Yeah. Yes, I was just going to make a comment that all of these interventions have to be so culturally sensitive to where we are and to know our communities and what we can and can't do. It varies from so many different situations. So it's very interesting to see how the nuance of how you work with with different situations comes across, and how important that local knowledge is to how messages and how work will be progressed, because it's so easy for people to listen and just turn away and think that wasn't relevant to me. And I think that was a very important part of what you were saying, is this has to be culturally and socially
Acceptable.
acceptable within the context in which we work. And that's why, when we're working with indigenous communities, we need to go in with real humility around what we have to learn, in terms of how we can learn together that international solidarity. So a very important message in that.
Thank you very much. So, Carol,
do,
do,
you
do,
la-
do, we,
you,
do we have some other session that is in English?
all this day is in English. This Wednesday, where we have 12 p.m. here in Peru, in Lima, Peru, and all the day is in English. Tomorrow until Saturday will be in Spanish.
Oh, okay. That's
But
great. Yeah.
which will be your last message, Christopher, for our free social workers which are watching us?
Can you come on again?
Which is your message? Message?
Message.
Sorry. Message for social
Yeah.
workers.
Yes. My message to clinical social worker and in generality the social workers, we should see it as a work that has been commissioned to us by God. And if we take it that is God-given profession, we'll do it with all our might and our strength. We should not look at the limited remuneration that we may be getting, but we have that notion that humanity can develop through other people. And it is the social worker who stand tall to bring communal solidarity to ensure that people who need support are given the needed support with all the professionalism and any commitment that they have. Thank you.
Sure, you're right. Thank you so much, Christopher, again. And thank you, Ruth, John. And we will continue in 2 hours. We will see you again with the next session with our friends from United States. At 2 p.m. we have a Kat from Thailand, Kathy from United States, Sue from Canada, Ameline from Philippines, Mayaka from Kenya, Empu Mulelo from South Africa, and Supyo Kim from South Korea, the ending, closing today. Hope to see you later, and thank you so much for participating on this day. Really, each experience is very rich for us, no? And we will make the subtitle later after Congress for people in Spanish, people in Latin American people could read in Spanish subtitles. But after Congress, but now the important is that we have recorded all the experience now, and it is sharing through the YouTube, and many people will see later, and we will pass it on networks. Okay, thank you so much, and in 2 hours we see you again. Yeah. Enter with the same link. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to all the colleagues in Ghana, in Scotland, and in South Africa.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
See you
Take care.
now. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. See you later.